This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Bruchim Abam to the first year of the new season. Say, what are you talking about? What's the new season? The new season between Purim and Pesach. That's the new season. If anybody still wants to get the Sefer for Purim, it's still available. Now's actually the best time of the year to get it because you have the whole year to read it. You know, before Purim, it's not the best time because you only have a few weeks. Now you have the whole year to But the other, so I have good news. Be'ezus Hashem, we're working on the next Sefer for Pesach, which will be available, b'siyata d'shmaya, next Pesach. I want to thank my good friends, Dr. and Mrs. Fuchs in Flatbush, for again dedicating the second volume. But if anybody wants to participate in the volume for Pesach, a number of people have already helped out. We greatly appreciate it. And b'siyata d'shmaya, the first Sefer, really had a lot of heavenly assistance. It made it Arba Kanfei Haaretz, and we hope weiter Rebbeinu Shalom should give us siyata d'shmaya l'hagdil Torah l'hadira. Okay, so due to popular demand, I got a lot of messages this week. Are you going to continue with the birds? Are you going to continue with the birds? Last year we learned about the birds. So I'll tell you the truth. I wasn't sure, but I got so many messages and people were so enthused by the bird shear, so we're going to continue with the birds. So you say, I wasn't here last year. So we're going to go back in time, and we're going to make it in 2 minutes, Ki'ilu, you were here last year. What do we mean by the birds? So the last year, Parsha Shemini, the week right after Pesach, we read one line in the Yerushalmi, a fascinating line. The Yerushalmi said, there's the Yerushalmi in Berachos, Parak Beis, Halacha Dalet, that Reb Chia bar Abba, and by the way, just ignore this item that's covered by a towel, make believe it's not here. I don't want anyone to get distracted. You know, I'm not saying whether it's going to be relevant to the shir later. There's something here under a towel, and try to focus on the shir without getting distracted by the mysterious item under the towel. Okay. So, the Yerushalmi says like this. Reb Chia Rabbah said, I never had kavanah in Shemoneh Esrei in my life. And the one time I tried, I got distracted by, I couldn't figure out what's more important, who's greater, an arkavsa or a reish galusa. So we gave a whole shiur, what does this mean? That he never had kavanah, and he got distracted by what's more chashuv, an arkavsa or reish galusa. And Shmuel said 3 words, and that's what the whole shiur was based on. It's the Yerushalmi, it's in last year's edition, you don't have it on the sheet. Shmuel Amar, Ana manis Esrei chaya. I count the birds. That's how I have kavanah by Shemoneh Esrei. I count the birds. So of course, he counts the birds. I know people count sheep to go to sleep. Some people come to a shiur, they sit back, and they imagine, you know, there's a fence, and sheep are passing by, and it aids in the process of falling asleep. But what did Shmuel mean that he counts the birds? How would counting the birds enable him to have kavanah? So we said an incredible idea, and this comes from the Sefer Beis Tefillah. Beis Tefillah is written by Rabbi Shua Heller, who is a Talmud of Reb David Tevela, a Talmud of the Vilna Gaon. And he has an astounding presentation, and actually an entire Sefer, based on the concept that the birds mentioned in Parsha Shemini correspond to the Berachos in Shemoneh Esrei. So you'll ask, what do you mean? There are 20 birds in this week's Parsha, and 21 birds in Parshas Re'eh. So the Beis Tefillah, now this is a little small red sefer that I first saw in my uncle's house, Reb Tzvi Hirschfang, and I later got a hold of the sefer. The Rabbi Shua Heller wrote an entire sefer explaining how each bird in Shemoneh Esrei is connected. Each bird in Parsha Shemini is connected another bracha in Shemoneh Esrei, and if you focus on the bird, you'll have much more kavanah. And I have to say, the last 2 days, my Shemoneh Esrei has been much better than it was before. My Shemoneh Esrei has been transformed. By each bracha, I think of a bird. Your Shemoneh Esrei will never be the same. That for sure. Better or worse, it will never be the same. Okay, and Rabbi Shua Heller first says. Shalom. Rabbi Shua Heller first says that how do you reconcile? There are 20 birds in Parshas Re'eh, 20 birds in Shemini, 21 in Re'eh. So he says, he quotes the Gemara in Chulin, Samach Gimel Amud Beis, Amar Rabbi Avahu, the Aya, the Daya, the Ra, and the Da are all the same bird. So it comes out The ayah and the daya in Shemini, the ra, the da, the ayah in Parshas Re'eh, they're all one bird. So it comes out both in Shemini and in Re'eh, there are 19 birds. Each bird corresponds perfectly to another bracha of Shemoneh Esrei. So for instance, tonight when you daven Marav, the first bird mentioned in Shemini and in Re'eh as Hanesher, the eagle. What do we know about an eagle? We know one thing about an eagle. The eagle is the highest flying bird. So the eagle hovers above all the birds. The reason being, the eagle says, if anybody, I don't have to worry about a bird swooping from above me. I only have to worry about a missile shooting from below. So if the missile shoots from below, mutav sheyavoyu ha'achetz bi, better the arrow should hit me. So what is the eagle functioning as? A magain. So in order to appreciate what the Rebbeinu Shalom did for Avraham and what he does for us, in order to have the hargasha and the feeling that the Rebbeinu Shalom says, better that the Klal Yisrael should go into the Golus than I have to punish them, and my name should be defiled. So God, so to speak, is taking it on the chin for Klal Yisrael and for Avraham Avinu. When you think Magen Avram, think about an eagle. You're not having kavanah, you're a little sleepy during Shemoneh Esrei. The first bracha, think about the eagle. Okay, that's number one. And then, the second bird is the paras, and the third bird is the ozniyah. But Rabbi Shua Heller has a whole Torah, and we explained this last year. TorahAnytime.com. Remember, you could go back to the Shiur. Ozniyah is Milashon Oiz. Milashon Oiz is Gevura. That's connected to the second bracha of Shemoneh Esrei, which is Gevurais. And the Peres, which is half, because Yaakov Avinu, it's half Chesed and half Gevura. Okay, so the three first birds, it's HaNeshev, it's HaPeres, Ozniyah, connected the first three brachos of Shemoneh Esrei. Then we go to Atachoinen. Atachoinen, we start Atachoinen li'adam das, u'malami lenosh bina, two things. And then we say Chaneina me'etcha deya bina v'haskel. So we start with the declaration about two things. That's why in Shemini it's the ayah and the daya, two birds. And in the bakasha in Re'eh, it's three birds, ayah, daya, ra, because it's keneged deya bina v'haskel, or if you daven Nusach Svard, the three bakashos that you say in Nusach Svard. And then last year, Shalosh Shudas, we spoke about the fifth bracha of Shemoneh Esrei, tshuva. Tshuva corresponds to the raven. How's that? Tshuva is the antithesis of the raven. We learned that the raven is what color when it's born? White. And the father is black. So the father turns to the black mother, and the father says to the mother, the kid is white. It ain't from me. Who have you been associating with? And the father banishes the kid. But later on, the kid turns black, and the father embraces the kid. That's the way the raven is back in the day and today. You could go out to any aviary, and you'll see that what I'm saying is authentic. You could go to, a raven is born white, and he turns black. The opposite of the Baal Tshuva, who starts off Shechoira black, and through Tshuva, Im Yadimu Chatoila Katsemer Yiu, turns white. Okay, but now we're in Tavshin Ayin Tes, and we're up to Rabbi Glatstein, the sixth bracha of Shemoneh Esrei, which is Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, mechal lanu ma'akinu ki fashanu. Rabbi Balkaire, what's the sixth bird in Parsha Shemini? Es ha'oirev leminoi, v'yes ha'aya daya. What? The ayah, the daya, and then v'yes bas hayana. Right. The Bas Hayana. So we're going to talk about the Bas Hayana now. Mo'er v'Rabosai, let's talk about Slicha. People do Averos, and people assume if you do Tshuva, God's going to forgive you. Okay, fine. So a person did an Avera, and then he did Tshuva. So a person feels, I did Tshuva, God is going to forgive me. It's not true. Just because you did Tshuva, it doesn't mean Hashem's Moichel you. You need to ask for Mechila. If a person does Tshuva, and he doesn't say, Hashem, please be Moichel me, you're not going to be Nimchal. In order to ask Hashem to Moichel you have to appreciate that the Avera was very severe. Like David HaMelech says, the Salachto la'avoini, Hashem, please forgive my sin. And the reason I'm asking for forgiveness, ki ravhu, my sin is very great. However, somebody who covers over his sin and doesn't think he really did something wrong, lo yatzliach. The pasuk says in Mishlei number 2, mechasef v'sha'av lo yatzliach. And not only does a person have to ask for mechila, as we do, Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, you need to say vidui. Like the pasuk says, v'hisvadu es chatasam, and the Rambam codifies it as a mitzvah. According to the Rambam, there's no mitzvah in the Torah to do tshuva. The Rambam does not learn tshuva as a mitzvah. The lashon of the Rambam is kishay yashav. When you do tshuva, you better do vidui. So you have to say vidui. However, the Rambam adds another ingredient. The ingredient that the Rambam adds is part of doing tshuva, Rabbi Isai, is midarkei ha-tshuva, says the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva, Parak Beis Halacha Dalid, Liyos Hashav Tzoyek Tamid Lefnei Hashem. You have to cry, and you have to scream, and you have to beg, and you have to shed bitter tears. How far we are from that. We just say, Rebbeinu Shalom, we just clap a little bit, and we think it's done. You have to really cry out to Hashem. Like the Pasuk says in Yoel, Uvetzoim, Shuvu Adai, B'chol Avavchem, Uvevchi, Uvemisped, or like it says in Shmuel, Vayizeku El Hashem. Marv Rabbi Isai, if the Yisoid of the sixth bracha of Shemoneh Esrei is Slicha, then which bird do you think would represent the concept of Bakasha Slicha, which entails a lot of crying and moaning and growing? There's one bird in Tanakh that every time we talk about this bird is constantly crying. And that is the ostrich, the Bas Hayana. Every time in Tanakh you see the word Yana, she's always crying. Look at Micha, number 8, Parak Aleph, Pasuk Ches. Al Zois Espedan, this I will eulogize. Ve'elila, Elcha Shoilal, I'll go delirious. Espa Misped Katanim, I will make a eulogy like a jackal. Ve'evel Kivnois Yana, I'll mourn like an ostrich. Ostriches scream, they cry, they moan, they holler. No?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It happens to be in this neighborhood, it's not so prevalent. It happens to be in this neighborhood, it's hard to experience this. But I once had the zechus, in my first year in yeshiva, there was a shul in Fort Worth, Texas, that needed a seed program. So somebody schlepped me along, and then one day there was nobody to learn with, so they took us to a safari, and there we encountered the Bas Hayana. But I'm going to tell you more about the Bas Hayana very soon. Okay? So throughout Tanakh, look in Eov. Eov said, I mourned so great that I became a brother of the ostrich. Look at number 9. Acha Yisi Lasanim. I became the brother of the jackal, V'real of Nois Yana. So therefore, the sixth bracha. So until now, when I said Slach Lanu Avinu, I thought I was having kavanah. No, nothing compared to when I started thinking about the ostrich when I got up to Slach Lanu. When I say Slach Lanu, I think about the crying ostrich. So I give a little krecht, Slach Lanu Avinu. You have to cry out like an ostrich. That's the kavanah. Of course, Shmuel said I never had kavanah until I thought about the birds. It's all about the birds. If you don't think about the birds, then your tefillah is for the birds. Okay? Rabbi said there's another thing we know about the ostrich. What else do we know about the ostrich? Another dimension of tshuva is, sometimes a person makes a mistake and they're just like shell-shocked, they're stunned, they're flabbergasted. When a person does an Aveira, the correct feeling should be shemama, desolation. Like, how could I have done such a thing? Good, gentlemen, you're with me? How shemama, just desolation. Throughout Tanakh, we find that when Ezra found out about the intermarriage of Klal Yisrael, it says he plucked out the hair of his head, v'eishva mishaymim, and he sat desolate. Likewise in Micha it says, hashmeim al chatoisecha, desolate over your sin. But Marv Rabbi Isai, whenever the Tanakh talks about the ostrich, where do ostriches live? Say, I don't know. They don't live in Cedarhurst. So I'm going to tell you where they do live. Every time in Tanakh it talks about the habitation of the ostrich lives in a makom shemama, in a place of desolation. Look at number 13 in the Navi Yeshaya. It says, Lo seishev lo netzach, you will not dwell forever. No, you will be in complete desolation. No Arab will set up tent there. The martins will go there. The houses will be full of a'oichim, ferrets. The shachnu sham benois yana. The ostriches will move in. Ostriches live b'makom shmama. How appropriate is then if we find that the attitude of the Baal Tshuva should be what? Should be one of shemama and one of desolation. Therefore, if you want to feel what kind of hargasha you should have when you say the bracha of Slach Lanu, you should feel like a crying ostrich. An ostrich who lives in a place of desolation. What, Bas? Okay, we're going to get to the Bas in a minute, okay? It would seem that the name of it is Yana. Yeah, the name of it is Yana. So therefore, says Rabbi Shua Heller, the appropriate way to have kavana during the bracha of Sachlanu, think about the ostrich, think about its moaning, its wailing, its crying, and its place of desolation. But there's another fascinating aspect of the ostrich. There's a Gemara in Chulin. Does anybody know, if you, let's say you walking down the street, and also this is not something typical in the 5 towns, walking down the street, anyone here ever find an eagle egg? An eagle egg? No. A hawk egg, a vulture egg. Are any of these kosher? They're not kosher. The egg of a non-kosher bird, is it kosher or not kosher? Not kosher. Mehechi tesi, why would it not be kosher? Why is it not kosher? So the Gemara in Chulin asks, look at number 16, Samach Danu Mebeis, Amar Chizkiya, Minayin lebeitzas tamei she'asur min haTorah. How do you know the egg of a non-kosher animal is asur min haTorah? Shenemar, not vias hayana, bas hayana, the daughter of the vulture, of the ostrich. In fact, the Gemara, ostriches have a daughter? Ostriches don't have a daughter. Ostriches lay eggs. There's no son or daughter. What do you mean the daughter? Elaizu zubeas tamea. The makar that the egg of a non-kosher bird is not kosher comes from the ostrich, because it says bas hayana. Bas hayana refers to the ostrich. In other words, how do we know the egg of a non-kosher animal is tameh? Is you're not allowed to eat? We learn it out from the ostrich. So isn't it curious that the Torah doesn't say by the eagle that the eagle egg is tameh, or that the vulture egg is tameh? Of all the eggs that the Torah chooses to say is tameh, the Torah singles out the ostrich egg. So you'll say, what is an ostrich egg? It's a good thing you came to the shiur tonight. Here we go. This is a real ostrich egg. So you say, why in the world does the rabbi have an ostrich egg?
Who ate inside?
So last year, I had the zechus to go to South Africa, and on the coast, I saw some cousins, some B'nai Afrikani, and they were selling ostrich eggs. So I decided to buy it. A little did I know that it would make its way into the shiur one day. But this is a real live ostrich egg after one of my kids dropped it. It's also engraved with different elephants from real Africans. But the point is,
Ostrich doesn't give birth to it like that.
What? No, some do. If you put design on the ostrich, it will give birth to an egg like that.
If you have a top,
and not only that, but this is a special trophy case for the ostrich egg. This is the bas hayana, right over here. Okay? The Torah says, the Gemara in Chulin says that this is the makar, that the eggs of a non-kosher bird are tameh. So the question is, why did the Torah single out the ostrich to learn out that you're not allowed to eat a non-kosher? So Rabbi Shua Heller says something very interesting. You know, there are 2 kinds of averos. There are the open averos, there are the obvious averos, where the Torah says the big 3, a biggie, where it's clear you're not allowed to do it, and sometimes the Yetzer Hara persuades a person to do it anyway. But in most cases, the Yetzer Hara will never persuade a person to do a really big avera. What the Yetzer Hara does is he tries to push the envelope. He tells you to do something that's not really mamish aser, but something that could lead to things that are worse. For example, the Torah says you kill the Ben Saro Moira. Why? Because he started eating a lot of meat, and by indulging in food, it could lead to much worse things. Or the Torah says, don't speak to a woman; it could lead to niyuf. There are many examples of small things that could lead to much worse things. So there are really 2 types of averos: the obvious ones and the ones that are sort of incubating in the egg. Okay? Now the non-kosher birds represent real chet. But what will represent the actions that are not actual sins, but are the beginning of sins and the seeds of sins and the eggs of sins? The perfect example to use, Rabbi Glatstein, is the ostrich egg. Why? Because the ostrich represents the chayte. The sinner is the ostrich. And he's the one who's clapping, Slach lanu avinu, ki chatanu, machal. So if the ostrich is the sinner, the ostrich egg is the small sin, the incipient sin, the thought to do a sin. And therefore the makar that you're not allowed to eat, the egg of a non-kosher behema, is the ostrich egg. Now I'm going to cover it up. And when I uncover it, it's going to be the egg of a different bird. No, just joking. Okay. It's still going to be an ashtray.
Still magic on the side.
Okay. Should we leave it out? We'll leave it out. What do you say? This is, by the way, so next time you say Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu, you know what you think of. This, okay. Marv Rabbi Sai, we move on to the next bracha of Shemoneh Esrei, and that is what? The 7th bracha of Shemoneh Esrei. So remember, the first bracha is the eagle, the second bracha is the Ozniyah, the third bracha is the Peres, the fourth bracha is the Ayah and the Daya, the fifth bracha is, again this is of the Oirev, the raven. But to this week we started with the 6th bracha, and that is the ostrich. Marv Rabbi Sai, we move to the 7th bracha. Now the first thing is, most people have no idea what this bracha is talking about. Goyel Yisrael Ribono Shel Olam, redeem us from exile. It has nothing to do with exile. It has nothing to do with Geula. It has nothing to do with redemption from exile. The Gemara says explicitly, or it's a Rashi Masechta Megillah, the Geula of Re'ei Nov Anyenu has nothing to do with Geula from Galus. Geula from Galus is Tekabe Shofar Gadol, Samach David, Shema Koleinu. What's Re'ei Anyenu? God, redeem me from my personal hardships. Everybody has personal hardships. Everybody has enemies. Everybody has people who wrong them. Everybody has situations where people are squeezing them, where people are pressuring them. What is it called when somebody wrongs you, when somebody's afflicting you, when somebody's harming you? That's chamas. Chamas is treachery. We need geula from treachery, from chamas, from illegal gains, people taking away our money, people taking away our property. Chas v'shalom. David HaMelech is mispalel, Moishii me chamas toshieni. Save me from chamas. Now we know there are really two things. We need the one terrible element of treachery is it causes us pain. So we say, Re'ei nova anyenu, see our affliction. And then the second thing, is even worse, is not only does it cause us pain, but those who are causing us the pain are gloating over and enjoying the fact that they're harming us, and that also is harmful. So we say, V'riva rivenu, fight our cause. This is chamas. What's the 7th bird? The 7th bird is what? The tachmas. So you say, what's the tachmas? The tachmas is the cuckoo bird. But why is it called the tachmas? Cuckoo. Okay? But that doesn't matter what it is in Hebrew, in English. What is the Hebrew word? Tachmas. What's the lashon of tachmas? Says the Ibn Ezra, Migzeras chamas. The root of the tachmas is chamas. So if you're saying, well, right now I can't really focus on any difficulties I have in my life, think about the cuckoo. Think about the chamas, tachmas. I have a hard time thinking about chamas. Think about the tachmas bird. This is the bird that represents treachery, deceit, harming other people. Then you'll be able to cry out, Re'ei anyenu v'riva rivenu, Baruch atah Hashem goyel Yisrael, redeem me Hashem from those who cause me pain, from those who put me down, from those who are causing me anguish. So in order to have the proper kavanah for the 7th bracha of Shemoneh Esrei, Marv Rabbi Sai, you need to think about good old tachmas, the cuckoo bird. Right? Good, gentlemen? You're good with that? Gentlemen over there on that table, you're good with the cuckoo bird, the 7th bracha? Okay, you're writing this down? You have a pen? Here, I have a pen, okay? Give those guys a pen. You get extra food after if you have all the... Okay, you're good? Shkoyach. Good. So that's the 7th bracha. The 7th bracha is the cuckoo bird, okay? The tachmas. Marv Rabbi say we're now up to the 8th bracha, Refainu. Now, the Gemara says this refuah is not refuah from sin, it's refuah from physical ailment. Physical ailment. Does anybody know the very first chayli mentioned in the whole Chumash? The first sickness mentioned in the Chumash? Ingrown toenail. I'm giving you part. The common cold, the flu, pneumonia. What's the first illness mentioned in the Torah? There's none in Berachos. Good. How about in Shemoneh? Also none. The first time an illness is mentioned in the Torah, bronchitis. What's the first illness? Saras. It's not a chayli saras. It's a spiritual ailment. I want a physical ailment. The first ailment is in the Teichacha. The pasuk says, look at number 27. Afani says, "Oislachem ve'ifgadati aleichem behola." I'm going to make you confused. Es hashachefes. What shachefes? Like the flesh starts to melt away. What's the 8th bracha of Shemoneh Esrei? The shachaf, the seagull, the gull, Gull. Okay. Why is it called a shachaf? So how would anybody know? Says the Ibn Ezra, the seagull is called the shachaf because it's moilid shachefes. Oyim v'noira. What's shachefes? The first illness mentioned in the Torah. It's the avi avois, all chayli. So if you're having a hard time davening that Hashem should protect you from illness, chas v'shalom, you know what you think about? The seagull. Why is it called the seagull? It contaminates people with shachefes. I'm not telling you this, Ibn Ezra. The Ibn Ezra says the shachaf is called milashon shachefes. It's moilid shachefes. So your Rifa'inu will never be the same. Yeah, Rifa'inu, Ribbon Shalom. I don't want to get called. No, you don't want to get shachefes. Shachefes is bad news. Nothing worse than shachefes. It's in the Toichacha. And this bird will give you a vivid description, a vivid picture of what you're davening to be protected from. We're now up to Rabbi Isai, the 9th bracha Shemoneh. This is like a historical shiur. Yossi, you know why? Because last year we did 4 brachas. We did, right, the first 4. Then Shalshus we did 1. Today we're doing 5 brachas. Can you imagine? And I said last year it's going to be a 3-year series. And I didn't think anybody would hold me to it, but it's going to be a 3-year series. By the time we're done with this, your Shemoneh Esrei is going to be like, it's going to be a different Shemoneh Esrei. Okay. By the way, it's you could come for Shal Shudas this week. We're going weiter. Siyata d'Shmaya. Okay. We're now up, what? Poster of birds. We're working on a new siddur, you know? A new siddur. Asi, no? Okay. We're up to the 9th bracha of Shemoneh Esrei. Baruch Aleinu Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Hazeh. Now this is the bracha. Everyone is Yored Demois. Everyone's crying. Everyone's mispalel. What happened? Parnasa. This is the main bracha, right? Everybody gets very into Parnasa. The truth is, Parnasa is very important because the Gemara in Taina says there was people were dying and they also needed Parnasa, so they didn't know which to daven for because you only know how to daven for one thing. So Gemara says daven for Parnasa because Hashem well, Hashem only gives Parnasa to the living. So by davening Parnasa, you really are davening for everything. So there's an incredible Gemara. This Gemara is very interesting. Reb Sender, you ready to hear? You're fully ready? Okay. Baba Basra Chavhei. The Gemara says there are 4 winds that blow every day. And with every wind, the north wind blows. So there's the east, the west, the south, and the north. The north blows with every wind. Every time there's a wind, there's also abyssal north wind. If it didn't blow, the world couldn't exist. You know which is the harshest of all the winds? The harshest of all the winds is Ruach Jeroimis Kashamikulan. The southern wind, where number 31 is the harshest of all. The Ilmole Ben Nates. And if not for the Ben Nates, Shema Amida, that stops the southern wind, Machreves Ha'olam, it would destroy the world. Shenemar, Hamibinascha Ya'avar Nates. Through your wisdom, Hashem, the Nates hovers. By the way, you know what the Nates is? Which number bird is it? It's the 9th bird. The Nates is the sparrow hawk, but we don't really care what it is in English. We're going to focus on the name. The sparrow hawk, this is a hawk that stops the southern wind. If not for the sparrow hawk, the southern wind would destroy the whole world. That wind coming up from Miami would just destroy the whole world. I see the wind, Baruch Hashem, brought a lot of people back from Miami. But you can imagine, if not for the sparrow hawk, you would have still been going to Canada now. The sparrow hawk stops the southern wind. Without the sparrow hawk, we would be in very big trouble. Says Rashi, no, it's not actually the sparrowhawk. It's a malach that looks like a sparrowhawk. As if that's any better. So it's not the sparrowhawk that stops the southern wind. It's an angel that looks like a sparrowhawk. My Rabbi said, what in the world is going on? Why, if I'm having a hard time having kavanah by Baruch Aleinu, if I think about a sparrowhawk, I'm going to have more kavanah? These guys want to know, like, how's the sparrowhawk going to help me in life, right? How's the sparrowhawk? So I'm going to tell you. Ayam v'nayra.
Rabbi, have a picture of sparrow?
Sorry. No.
Egg? What's that?
No. Yeah, it's going to come from the same shirish. Okay, here we go. There's a hierarchy in creation. We have something called doimim, inanimate objects, rocks, stones, minerals. We have, that's a doimim. We have tzomeach, things that grow, things that sprout, things that flourish. We have chai, living things, and we have medaber, human beings. The truth is, every characteristic in one class exists in a more sophisticated form in the higher class. Whatever is in doimim is in tzomeach. Whatever is in tzomeach is in chai. Whatever is in chai is in medaber. That's why human being is an olam katan. It's a small world that encompasses all the powers of creation. In fact, there's an incredible Gemara in Bechairos. The Gemara says the incubation of every animal corresponds to the time it takes for a different tree to produce a fruit. So for example, a chicken, it takes 21 days to produce an egg. Mm-hmm. So too, a luz tree takes 21 days to produce a almond. A dog, it's 50 days to give birth. A fig, 50 days to produce. A cat, 52 days. A berry, 52 days. A pig, 60 days pregnancy. An apple, 60 days. A fox and shrutzim, 6 months. Tvua takes 6 months. A smorite, like the Gemara in Tainus says, the tvua takes 6 months to grow. A small animal, 5 months. A grape, 5 months. A big animal that's not kosher, a year. A date palm, a year. A kosher animal, 9 months. An olive, 9 months. A wolf, a lion, a bear, a leopard, an elephant, a monkey, 3 years. B'nai shuach, like in the Gemara Bava Basra, it takes 3 years. Fine. There's an animal that takes 70 years. Then the charav, the carob tree, takes 70 years. From here we see whatever exists in the inanimate world exists in the world of plants, exists in the world of animals. So, if that's the case, if there is a ability to flourish and grow and proliferate and produce and blossom in the world of plants, then the power of blossoming and flourishing and producing exists in the animal world as well. Here's another parallel. Fish. Do you need to shecht fish? You go to the ocean, you catch a gefilte fish. Do you need to shecht the gefilte fish? You don't have to shecht the gefilte fish. You could just eat it. A bird. Do you need to shecht a bird?
Yeah.
How many simanim? Only 1 siman. An animal, you have to shecht 2 simanim, but you don't have to cover the blood. A chaya, you even have to cover the blood. And there's some things you can't even eat, shkatzim and ramasim. The same thing in the plant world. You have certain things that grow from the ground. You make a shahakal. What do you make a shahakal on that grows from the ground? A mushroom. You have some things that grow from the ground, you make a hadama. That's the second category. You have some things that grow from the ground, you make a mezainos. You have some things that grow from the ground, you make ha'etz. And you have some things that grow from the ground, and they don't produce any fruit. So in every category of matter, you have 5 categories. By the way, he writes in a footnote, that's why there are 5 parts of davening. There is Berachos HaShachar, Psukei de Zimra, Kriya Shema, Shemoneh Esrei, and Tachnon. Okay. Mar v'Rabosai in Barech Aleinu, what are we davening for? God, make it a fruitful year, a lush year, a year of production, a year of blossoming, a year of success. We want the earth to produce. So what bird do you think we should think about when we think about flourishing and growing and blossoming? The nates. Why is it called nates? Again, comes the Ibn Ezra. You know why it's called nates? Says Ibn Ezra, Yesh loy noitza rabba. It has the most feathers. And the sparrowhawk is constantly producing more feathers and more feathers and more feathers and more feathers. So what a successful, bountiful crop would be, corresponding to that is the sparrowhawk. The sparrowhawk is in the bird world what a successful crop is in the world of plants. So if you want to think, Ribbon Shalom, give me a successful year, the best thing to think about is the sparrowhawk, the nates. It's called nates because it produces so many feathers. I wasn't able to catch a sparrowhawk, but if we would have one here, you could just imagine, just by when it would walk from here to here, it would be like shedding flowers wherever, feathers wherever it went. You know those birds, you know? You walk, it's constantly shedding feathers. It's a very plentiful, it's a very lush. It's a bird that blossoms, and therefore, if you need to have kavanah by Barech Aleinu, you think about the sparrowhawk, and therefore, the south wind, which would threaten to destroy the whole world and all the crops and all the grain and all the food. What angel would stand in its way to stop the south wind and give the crops a successful year? We know when we daven, we produce malachim. So what kind of malach do you think we produce when we say Barech Aleinu? We produce a malach in the image of the sparrowhawk, because this is a malach that represents plenty and smicha and desha, and this is the image that we should have when we say Barech Aleinu. So when you say Barech Aleinu, forget this. This was Slach Lanu Avinu Ki Chatanu. When you think about this bird with a lot of feathers, Ibn Ezra says, Yesh Loi Noitza Rabba. Mav Rabbi Sai, finally, as the night is winding down, we're going to do the 10th bracha of Shemoneh Esrei. Okay? Teka b'shofar gadol l'chirosenu. Blow the great shofar for your freedom. For our freedom. We know Chazal say that Lasid Lavai, a great shofar is going to be blown. It's going to herald in the coming of the Mashiach. Why is it called a shofar gadol? What makes it a big shofar? Why is it big? Big compared to what? Why can't Hashem use a tekabah shofar katan? Hashem needs a big shofar?
It doesn't mean size.
So the Pirkei Rabbi Lezer says that the aisle of Yitzchak Avinu had two horns on it, the right side and the left side. The left side was short, and it was blown at Kabbalas HaTorah. And the right side is long, and it will be blown la'asad lavai. This is a medrash I'm sure we've heard many times. The shofar of Matan Torah was smaller compared to the shofar of La'asad Lavai. Who cares what the size is? Of what significance is it that the shofar of Matan Torah was small and the shofar of La'asad Lavai was large? Okay, Rabbi said we're going to say a very deep concept now. And tonight's shir comes from the Sefer, again, based tefillah of Rabbi Yeshua Heller, Zechus Yagen Aleinu. And he says an incredible thing. Good old Adam HaRishon. He ate from the forbidden fruit. He ate from the fruit. Two bad things happened when he ate from the fruit. First of all, which senses did he use? When Chava encountered the fruit, it says Vatera, she saw the fruit. And when Adam sinned, he made a big mistake. What did he do? He listened to his wife. Those are the two big mistakes of all time. She saw the fruit and he listened. Re'iyah and Shmiya. Ultimately, this will be corrected, La'asad Lavai. When Teka b'shofar gadol, we'll hear the shofar and we'll do Shmiya, and V'sanes l'kabetz Gol Yoseinu, we'll see the banner and we'll correct our Re'iyah. Okay? Two bad things happen, one worse than the other. One easier to correct than the other. The Gemara says in Shabbos, Kuf Mem Hei Amud Beis, going on to Kuf Mem Vav, that the Nachash didn't just converse with Chava. The Nachash actually had relations with Chava, and the lashon of the Gemara is Ba Nachash al Chava v'hito ba Zuhama. The Nachash cohabited with Chava, and he injected in her Zuhama, grime. You know what Zuhama is? Nowadays, people are very hygienic, and they have crock pots with plastic linings. That cholent has no tam. You need to get an old metal pot. And the old metal pot, why do you get an old metal pot? Because this way, today's cholent is not just today's cholent. It's last week's cholent also. And it's decades and decades and decades of cholent going back l'doirei doiros. That's why the old cholent has good taste. Nowadays, you just take out a plastic insert. The cholent is for only this week's cholent, and it's full of the chemicals of the plastic insert. You go back to the metal pot. The metal pot has zuhama, grime in it, right? By the way, that's not part of the Torah. That's just Eitzah Tova, okay? Zuhama, I'm just trying to give you an example what Zuhama is. The Nachash put Zuhama in Chava. But Chazal say that Klal Yisrael, who stood on Har Sinai, Paska Zuhamasan. The grime in us ceased. It doesn't mean there's no grime in the world. There's still grime in the world. There's grime in the Ummah Yisraelim. We got rid of our grime. So the first bad thing that happened when Adam ate from the Eitz Hadas is that mankind was injected with Zuhama. But another bad thing happened, and this is worse, and this is much harder to correct. And that is the Gemara in Eruvin says that Adam HaRishon, after the sin of the Eitz Hadas, he was Peiresh from Chava, and he was Moilid, Shadin, Ruchin, and Lilan. He emitted Zara, and Kedusha got dispersed Nitzoitzos HaKedusha, I'm not going to say exactly how many right now, the exact number, but they got dispersed throughout the world, and that was the purpose of being in Mitzrayim, to collect the sparks of Kedusha. So listen carefully. First, what happened was, Ra of the Nachash got mixed into the Toiv, and the other thing that happened is, the Toiv of Adam got mixed into the Ra. Now when we stood on Har Sinai, we eradicated the Ra that got mixed in the Toiv. But we never fully collected the Nitzoitzos HaKedusha that got scattered all over the world. That will not be accomplished until the end of time, when not only will evil be, the Ra, be rid from ourselves, but we'll also be able to gather the sparks of Kedusha that got mixed into the whole world. Marv Rabbi say there are two sides. There's the right side and there's the left side. The Tzad Yamin is the Daraim, is Midas HaChesed. That's the midah of expansiveness, to be able to reach out and utilize Avas Hashem to accomplish beyond yourself. The left side, which is midas hadin, is the midah of constriction, to sort of hold yourself back and keep yourself pure. When we stood on Har Sinai, God blew the shofar of which side of the aisle of Yitzchak? The left side. That represented confinement, being able to rid man, Klal Yisrael, from the evil that the Nachash injected into us. That was the left side, but that was a smaller side. That was a much harder job. That was a much easier job, The harder job is when we'll blow the shofar of the right side, the big shofar, the hard job, to be able to gather all the sparks that have been spread all over the world. Okay. So what bird are we up to? We're up to the 10th bird. What's the 10th bird? The kais. What's a kais? What in the world is a kais? The kais is an owl. Interesting. Kais Eliyahu. What do we know about an owl? In the Gemara, we know two things about an owl. You ready? The Gemara, by the way, how do we know it's an owl? Look at number 46. The karya, that's the owl. We know two things about a karya from the Gemara. Nidan Daf Chav Gimel. The karya has eyes in its face like a human being. All the other birds, they have like eyes on the side of their face. You ever see a bird? Yeah, you wonder, hey pal, you're looking at me? Like, where are you looking? You know, it has like a beak and has one eye over here, one eye, like, who are you looking at? The owl has two eyes in its front, and it's looking at you like you turn away, right? You don't want to stare at the owl. The owl has eyes like human. Riyah like an Adam. And the Gemara says it also has another interesting feature like an Adam. It's the only creature that has lesasais, cheeks. Cheeks. The owl has cheeks. I wouldn't recommend that, but yeah. The Gemara in Chulin says, Darshei Chamurais would say that a cheek, a lechi, represents tefillah. You daven with your cheeks. That's a Gemara. The Gemara says you mashmiya koil b'tefillah with your cheeks. Therefore, the owl represents the koyach hariyah and the koyach hashmiya. It has eyes like a human being. This way, if you want to know Tekabeh Shofar Gadol, what do I need to be Mesakein? I need to be Mesakein the Koyach HaRe'iyah of Adam HaRishon, like an owl. What else do I need to Mesakein? The Koyach HaShmiyah of Chava, like an owl that has cheeks. The cheeks is the Hashmas Koyah, like a shofar. Cheeks. And therefore, the status of this world now, throughout Tanakh, the owl is always called Kois Charavos, the owl of devastation, because right now, before Tekabeh Shofar Gadol, the Koyach HaRiyah is contaminated, the Koyach HaShmiyah is contaminated. And therefore, when you say Tekabeh Shofar Gadol, you're going to think about that owl, you're going to think about we have to be Mesakin the Koyach HaRiyah, we have to be Mesakin the Koyach HaShmiyah, and this is going to give you a new Kavanah in Shemoneh Esrei. So Marv Rabbi said the first bracha is the eagle, the mugging of the eagle. The second bracha is the koyach ha'oiz of the ozniyah, followed by the peres, which is a combination of chesed and din. The daya is atachonin li'adam das. The raven is what? Tshuva. Then the slicha, that's the ostrich. Re'eva onyenu is the tachmas from chamas. The refuah is the shachaf from shachefes. Baruch Aleinu is the nates with so many feathers. And we're up to the 10th bracha. The 10th bracha, of course, is the owl. Stay tuned for the next bird and the next bracha Shemoneh Esrei Hashem we're going to discuss by Shal Shudis, or you could catch it in Hashem and Torah anytime. And b'siyata d'shmaya, you never know, maybe next year we'll be zoicha to finish the whole Shemoneh Esrei. Gute Nacht.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.